you need to try to match indexes with a where clause. In other words, if we go back to these previous queries, this first explain plan I executed on the show table does match an index. There's an index on the show ID column. In both cases, if I was to execute a query which does not use an index, for instance, select star from act where name like starting with A, for example, if I was to access the act table and use a where clause which does not match an index, however there may very well be an index on that column, there is an index on that column because the name value is required to be unique. However, if I was to access a table without using an indexed column in the where clause, the simple fact is it's still going to do a full table scan anyway because there's no index. So it's very important to use indexes in where clauses when you can. In the case where you've got a multiple comparison where clause, which basically implies a where clause that says where something and something and something, put the index checks. In other words, if you had where show ID is something and show date is something, put the show ID check first and then do the show date check second, because the chances are you're more likely to use the index. We could actually try that and say select star from show where show ID, let's say show ID equals 1 and show date equals that, and then we can actually execute explain plan. And you can see it's slightly different from the previous query. What it does essentially is it uses the index, the show ID, to find that row, and then it validates that the show date is equal to that value. If it's not, it doesn't return anything. This is basically applying precedence to filtering for the purposes of tuning SQL code. Always apply not only indexes first, but also apply the largest filter first. The largest filter is the filter that removes most rows from the query. This applies to joins as well. That's a very basic tenet of tuning SQL code queries in filtering where clauses. The order by clause. Always try to take advantage of inherent sorting. There is some type of inherent sorting in where clauses, group by clauses, and distinct clauses. And there are some situations where you do not need to order by because the output is already ordered. However, note that sometimes the where clause will do strange things and won't necessarily return the rows in the order in which you expect, even though indexes are read in certain formats. Sometimes you can get what's called, for instance, a fast full index scan, which doesn't actually read the index in the order in which the index is sorted. It simply reads it directly from disk, and it could be in any order. In that case, you need to apply an order by clause to sort in the order of that index. That generally applies when you're only reading from an index and you're reading all the rows